Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Before you today is the leadership of Informal Sector Workers Association. We are going to read a statement regarding strengthening of Kenya's informal economy ahead of the presidential address to the nation on the status of the nation. But before we proceed with the statement, we are going to do an introduction, then I'll read the statement.
Naitwa Hassan Kalla kutoka from Garissa County.
Ali from Marsabit County.
Thank you very much, my colleagues. I'm John Peter, the National Coordinator. Our press statement today is in regards to strengthening Kenya's informal economy, a call for the establishment of National Informal Sector Council. The Informal Sector Workers Association of Kenya issues this statement ahead of the President's State of the Nation address to highlight the urgent need for comprehensive reforms that support millions of Kenyans whose livelihoods depend on the informal economy. With over 80% of Kenya's workforce operating outside the formal sector, the informal economy remains the backbone of Kenya's employment and household survival systems. Yet, despite its significance, the sector continues to face structural neglect, fragmented policies, weak institutional support, and inconsistent regulations at national and county levels. Over the years, the government made pronouncements aimed at enhancing the informal sector, ranging from social protection strategies, micro, small, and medium enterprises policy reviews, tax compliance reforms, to collaborate initiatives with international partners. While these efforts signal progress, their impact has been limited due to poor coordination, inadequate financing, and the absence of unified institutions mandated to drive informal economy development. Social protection commitments, including expansion of pension and health insurance coverage, remain slow in implementation. Tax reforms, though intended to widen the revenue base, risk burdening micro enterprises if not designed with flexibility. The Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, despite its legal mandate, remains under-resourced and insufficiently visible at community level. Without strong institutions, policy promises cannot translate into meaningful change. For Kenya to unlock the full economic potential of the informal sector, the Informal Sector Workers Association of Kenya strongly advocates for the creation of a statutory body known as the National Informal Sector Council. This council should serve as the primary national institution responsible for research, policy coordination, regulatory harmonization, and strategic advisory to both national and county governments. The National Informal Sector Council would provide Kenya with the long overdue institutional architecture required to transform the informal sector into a productive, protected, and globally competitive pillar of our economy. The Council would undertake continuous research on informal sector dynamics, ensuring evidence-based policy making. It would coordinate cross-ministerial activities, bridge gaps between the county and national regulation, and review legislation affecting the informal sector workers. It would also create a unified national platform for structured engagement between the government and informal sector organizations, reducing the harassment, unfair taxation, and operational uncertainty that workers currently face. Countries such as India, South Africa, and Brazil have demonstrated that institutionalizing informal sector governance leads to higher productivity, improved worker welfare, and sustainable national development. Informal Sector Workers Association therefore calls on Parliament, the National Treasury, the Ministry of Micro and Small Enterprises, and the Ministry of Labor, including the county governments, to support a legislation establishing the National Informal Sector Council as a statutory institution. The Council would ensure proper coordination of social protection expansion, pension reforms, licensing simplification, financial inclusion programs, and building of modern markets and industrial clusters. By anchoring informal sector development within a strong legal and institutional framework, Kenya can enhance job creation, promote fair regulation, strengthen local manufacturing, and safeguard the rights and dignity of millions of workers. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the future of Kenya's economy depends on the strength, stability, and productivity of its informal sector. The establishment of a National Informal Sector Council is not just a policy recommendation, it is a national imperative. We remain committed to working with government, civil society, and development partners to champion reforms that secure a fair, inclusive, and prosperous informal economy for all Kenyans. For this reason, ladies and gentlemen, we appeal to the leadership of the parliamentary business, both the majority and minority leaders, to liaise with our organization and the Office of the Attorney General to develop a draft bill for the enactment of National Informal Sector Council to spearhead positive reforms to transform the informal economy. Thank you.